This is Patty Sliney, Handy Quilter National Educator, and we had one of our Facebook group members trying to figure out how to create a design that will stitch out left to right and then right to left and repeat that, but then maintain the start and stop points here along the left margin of your area. So that way, after the design stitches out left to right and then right to left, it will have an end point so your machine pauses in case you need to advance. So I'm going to walk through the steps. She was having a little difficulty trying to maintain or start an end point. So there's a trick to this, and let me show you how to do it. So first off, I'm going to open up the design element she was using. And then what we're going to do is we need to evaluate this design element. It is not quite 5 inches tall. I have a 24-inch and a 28-inch throat space machines. So I know I can easily fit 2 rows in my two machines throat spaces. But that's your first evaluation. If you want to try this technique, you got to be able to stitch out 2 rows. So take that into consideration because you may need to resize the height of the design element first so you can fit 2 rows into your machine in one pass. So I see baselines available. I'm going to go ahead and baseline it because we always want to start out with a clean, fresh, unaltered design before we go about repeating it. So that's the first thing we're going to do. And I'm just going to take my finger and I'm going to move this design element down. And I'm going to zoom in a little bit so we have the entire row visible. And I'm going to baseline again because I moved it. That is a modification. That's a reposition modification, modify reposition modification. If you take your finger and you move a design element around on the workspace, that is the same as going to modify reposition. Same thing. So I've baselined. Now I'm ready to go ahead and repeat this. I'm going to make 1 row across. So I'm going to touch my horizontal and just add my repeats across. And I want enough. I'm going to add 1 more because I'm going to be duplicating this row. I want and offsetting it. I want to make sure I have enough repeats to do that with my second row. Okay, happy with this row. I'm going to baseline this. Then I'm going to go to edit and I'm going to duplicate this. And then I want to point out this is being done in ProStitcher Premium. It has a feature that Light does not have, which is a swap endpoint. So for you Light users, you would have to take the second row into Designer to swap the endpoints. This is just something that can be done in Premium as I'm demonstrating today. All right, so I've got my second row and I want that second row. It loaded to my crosshair, so I'm going to put select on, take my finger and I'm going to drag it down and I'm going to put it below my first row. And that way it's actually not offset. It's nested. But I needed to make sure I have enough overlaps. And in this technique, you want to make sure a couple of things. First off, that your first row is below the top edge of your area. So I'm going to zoom in to show you that. It has to be below this. I'm going to reposition it later, but I'm going to be cropping these 2 rows and I only want to crop off the left and the right margins. I don't want to crop off anything at the top. So that first row has to be below the top edge of your area. Okay, so let's zoom in. That looks spacing wise to me pretty good. So I'm going to go ahead and baseline my second row. My second row is selected. I know this because it's black. And if I go to my workspace tab, my second row is green. That means it's selected. So I'm going to baseline that. Okay, now I'm going to zoom back out and I need to swap my endpoints. So I do that by going to modify, touch swap, and now my start point is over here. That allows me to connect my two rows right at the end of the first row. So baseline that modification. I'm happy with what I have, so now I'm going to group these. To do that, I'm going to click on Select None and then Select All. Don't use your multi-select tool. It's not necessary. These are in the correct order. I know that because if I look at my workspace and I select that's my first one, that's my second one, that's how they're going to stitch out. The order is correct. I know that by using my workspace tab in my right sidebar. So let's select none, and then I can select all, and then it's going to temporarily group my first row and my second row in that order. It's going to give me a connection here. That's what I want. So now I'm going to baseline that. Next step, and this is what's important. The next step, you need to go to Modify Crop, crop outside, close your edges, and now I'm going to zoom in over here and I'm going to hide my area. Let's see. Let's hide my area. There, you can see that connected here, but it retains my start and stop points over here, which is really important. Okay, so let's turn my area back on. Refresh my screen to zoom back out. Let's baseline that. That's very important that you baseline that last modification, which was my crop. And then I would recommend that you save selected and save this. I would recommend saving it to a flash drive. If I had one plugged in, it would show up right here when I collapse my C drive. And then you can name it whatever you want to name it. You could call it dots to row, edge to edge, and then save it. I'm going to cancel because I don't need to save. I'm just demonstrating. All right, so now you've got your design element. You are going to go and repeat this, and you're going to repeat it vertically. So let's repeat it so we have enough rows, and I do see I've got a little bit of a gap there that I want to close up. I don't want, you can see the gap between my double row design elements, so let's make sure we have enough. And now let's reduce that gap. I'm just holding the minus button down. Ooh, maybe a little bit too much. It looks pretty good to me. And then I am going to, before I do anything, I'm going to reposition this before I crop. So I'm going to go to Modify, Reposition. I made my nudge to 0.05, and then I'm just going to nudge it up. So I'm moving it so I have even spacing here and here. I'm happy with how this looks. I'm going to baseline this. Now I'm going to go back to Modify Crop, and I'm going to crop outside, and I'm going to close my edges and baseline that. And now I have my design that has retained all of the start and stops on the left edge. Let me zoom in so you can see them. Might be a little hard to see the endpoints. There we go. So we've got a start and an endpoint. I can hide my area again so you can see it better. Refresh my screen. Sorry about that. Got my toolbar came up. There we go. So you can see all the start and endpoints are still retained on the left edge of my design. If after you cropped, you end up having like a little weird vertical, just undo that and then move this design up. If you have enough vertical repeats, you've got some wiggle room, and you can go to Modify, Reposition, use your nudge arrows, nudge it up a little, nudge it down a little, and then try cropping again to make sure that you have a nice clean crop. So that's how you build an all over edge to edge 2-row design that stitches left to right, then right to left, and retains its start and stop points on the left edge of your area. So you have an end point to stop at if you need to go ahead and advance with drag and drop. So I hope that helps, and happy quilting. Give this a try in simulation and be comfortable with it. Then you can do this at your machine. Happy quilting.